Good afternoon. This is Victor Jimenez with Sewerline Check Professionals. I'm here at 5227 La Forest Drive in La Cañada, and I'm in the process of performing a video examination of the main sewer line. And the main sewer line is the portion of the waste drainage piping which is exterior to the structure. It lies underground and connects the building drainline system to the public sewer. The building drainline system then is the portion or portions of the waste drainage piping which is underneath or interior to the structure. Today's video examination does not focus on the building drainline system, so if further evaluation is desired regarding the building drainline system, a licensed plumbing contractor should be contacted, or a specialty building drainline video examination can be set up through our office. Alright, so we have access to today's main sewer line from a pair of main sewer line cleanouts located on the left side of the front yard. We pushed here about 64 feet from that point to this connection at public sewer running out of the center of the road. Now there are a couple of components that I will be describing as we get closer towards them, but I'll be starting this examination coming from this point at public sewer and heading back towards the cleanout access that we used today with lines exiting the building. Alright, so immediately pulling away from public sewer, we have this short section here, only about 6 inches, of vitrified clay. Now, vitrified clay is a very common material for main sewer lines. Has a long service life expectancy. However, it is more susceptible to damage during earthquakes and seismic activity. And it also has a tendency to let in roots at the joint areas. Now, that section, that connection piece of clay into the public sewer looks fine. There's no cracks or breaks. We're not seeing any roots coming in, so that's an acceptable condition. Now, there at 64 feet, we're converting into a section of plastic known as PVC plastic. So the plastic pipings, both PVC, which is typically a white or a green color, and then you have the ABS plastics, which are a black color. The plastics are an excellent material for main sewer lines. They have a long service life expectancy. They also have a very smooth inner surface, which makes them very efficient at washing out debris. And lastly, they're intended to be impervious to root intrusions. So overall, they are a superior choice for different materials used for main sewer lines. Now, one thing I didn't cover in the beginning, but essentially the way that the line runs is it's exiting out of this cleanout here on the left side of the house, and it's pretty much a straight run to the sidewalk, the street, and then it starts heading diagonally towards the center of the street. It's connected with public sewer. So the line does move to the left and right a couple times, kind of weaving in between those trees. But for the most part, it's pretty much a straight line. We only have about another 15 feet. And as I pull out of the clean out, there's a couple things I'll show you, which are some upgrades to the line, some components that have been upgraded, which are going to be important. Alright, so we're going to be pulling out of this clean out now. Alright, so first thing I'd like to point out is that there is a total of 3 clean outs here in the front yard. There's this first one here, it's right next to that wall. And then you have this massive one right here, and you have that smaller white one. So the smaller white one is what we accessed, and that pushed us out towards the street. This access does 2 things. One, it allows you to go up under the house, and it also allows you to push out into the street. Now this big opening is where we're going to be describing a little bit of a different component in the system. So as you can see, we're sitting here next to the wall, and the street, the level of the street is actually higher. So I'm angling my camera kind of upwards right now, but if I straighten it out, you can see the level of the street is actually higher than this point here. So what that means is that the plumbing within the house is going to be lower than the public sewer. So what this opening is this is a component for the system known as a backwater valve. A backwater valve is essentially a flap that when water is pushed out towards public sewer, the flap opens and water can come through. But if for whatever reason water were to come the opposite direction, and it were to start pushing up towards the house, the flap would close and not allow the water to go through. Now the reason that this is installed is when you have a circumstance where the plumbing in the house is of a lower slope or a lower point than the public sewer manhole, Now, however slight this possibility is, there still is a possibility that if for whatever reason public sewer were to start backing up, or there was a backup in public sewer and the line were to start filling up, what would occur is that the line would end up essentially draining off to this house before it actually started overflowing out of the manhole in the center of the street. So this component essentially prevents that. It doesn't necessarily prevent the water from, it doesn't prevent the backup of the line, but what it does prevent is it prevents the sewage that would have been in public sewer coming up into the house itself. So while it might get stuck in the line, if there is some issue with the public sewer, this mechanism essentially prevents all of that from coming into the house. So that's good. Now, in terms of the actual installation of this, it appears to have been installed correctly. I did see that the flap was working and it was installed. It's not broken off. It is there. Although a sewer contractor would have to be, would obviously have to give a second opinion, just because this is a little bit more of a specialty device. But from what I could tell today, it looks like it's functioning and working properly. So this access point that we used is what pushed us out towards the street. I will go ahead and just drop into this line so you can just see what I'm talking about a little bit. So first thing is we're going to start pushing towards this valve. You can see here it's kind of coming around a turn. So that's the valve right up ahead. And you can see we give it a little bit of effort, it starts moving forward. I don't want to push it all the way through. If I push through that valve, I run the risk of getting my camera stuck in there. Alright, so now this is, I mentioned this in the beginning, this is an access point known as a two-way cleanout. The reason for that is because you can push both the camera in one direction and the opposite. Now, essentially at this point we're going to be going under the house. We've got a short section of clay, and then, for the sake of seeing as I did have the access, this is what's under the building. Now I pushed about 30 feet under the house when I first started out. What essentially we're looking at here is an original cast iron pipe. It looks pretty old, it is pretty rough. You do have that rust and seal buildup, which is getting pretty excessive. The diameter of the pipe is pretty small compared to the rest of the line. And you also have an issue where the bottom of the pipe has started to level out. So this line is definitely on the older side, and essentially is something that, well, it's not broken or failing right this second. It is something which will need to be replaced and eventually something done with in the future. Alright, so with that, I'm going to be wrapping up the video examination. Essentially, I have no repairs to recommend for the main sewer line. We'll just bring to your attention that that building drain system is an older material, and eventually it will, you will have, some issues with that in the future as the line gets older, but as of today, that's fine. So I'm just going to take a couple of photographs here for the report. The backwater valve. Alright, so once again, this is Victor Jimenez with Sewer Line Check Professionals. Thank you very much and have a pleasant day.